Well, hey team, how you guys doing? Let me fix my screen here. Looks like everything's aligned. I'm going to check my signal, make sure I'm coming through clearly. I'm going to do a quick intro, then we'll get to work. I'm illustrating a Dungeons and Dragons adventure set in the campaign setting of Eberron. Give me a second here to in the campaign setting. Yep. Okay, great. So that's coming along nicely. I like that volume. Yep. Okay, great. Let's bring that down to a serviceable volume. That's probably good. Let me go ahead and grab that link here for the social media posting. Normally you see a countdown timer while people do this, but this is what we're doing. We're grabbing links because we don't get a link until it goes live. So we're grabbing links to the to the stream. And it looks like I don't have a. I'm not using an intro picture today, so I guess that's how fresh on the page we are. Give me a second here. Almost done. So great. My name's Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish them online, and we've been creating content here on Dungeon Masters Guild since 2018. I've been a DM since 1987, a freelance illustrator since 1999, an Eberron enthusiast since 2004. But we have yet to create anything on the DM's Guild related to Eberron. So Crystal Zimavari here on screen is the solution to that problem. It's an adventure for 7th and 8th level characters, fighting undead, necromancers, and demons in the Carnwood of Karnath on the continent of Corvair. Yeah, so we're going to do some art. Chicka, that's my intro. So let's switch our screens around here. If you think today's cool, I stream art in the morning, Monday through Friday, and then on Mondays and Thursday nights, Tuesday and Friday lunch, I stream game design for the 5e game engine and perhaps other games in the future. If you think today's fun, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications of when we are live in the future. The entire playlist of all 466 episodes of us creating the maps, tokens, and other assets for this adventure are linked here. Dive in if you want. Here's a bunch of books that we've already created on the DM's Guild. They have free previews. Anything that I publish, you can read cover to cover. If you think it's cool, consider making a purchase to support similar behavior in the future. And without further ado, we made this book cover around episode 40. Let's get past that. And here we are. We're working on the Karnath map. We had a previous version of it. You can see here it was coming along, but it was way more area than we needed. So I'm going to drop that guy out of view. This is the outline that we have so far of what we're doing. I'm going to, let's see, this is icons. There. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to push this up. Let's grab a base color of grit. Let's grab a base color to throw down in general. I'm gonna do that. So we have this frame here that helps block things in. So we're gonna do like this. And then let's grab these speckles. Sparkling thoughts. Give me the hope to go on. That's a good color. So let's yeah, let's let this guy do some work. I'm just gonna throw down some texture here like we saw in the actual Eberron map. I can still hear myself a whole lot, so let's see if I can fix how this is. Can I get myself down? Is that no? Is that low enough? That might be good. Let's see. Let's continue on. See if that worked. Just gonna tip tap. Yeah, it turns out I was seeing double vision last night. I had blood drawn, and I think I was under sugared. My vision started to go. I don't know what's up with that, but there it was. There it went. But I feel more spry today, so we should be good to go here. Let's see. Where were we putting the limits on this map? That looks pretty good. There we go. Let's do that. We have to be mindful of this edge here because we have information that we want to have conveyed in this part of the world. We can probably be here. I think that works pretty good. And that curve there. That beveled corner. I think that'll work. Here. And here. Actually, I bet this is where we're supposed to be. There we go. Nope. There we go. That looks good. All right, let's. We're futzing with these edges a lot, but we need to. This is important. Gotta get that framing right. Like that. And then like that. Hey Domo, how you doing? I am well, thank you. I feel like I'm crawling out of my skin, but that's a me issue. Where are you coming in from? There we go. Let's do that. That should be good. Should be, but it isn't. Merge down. Grab our... There. Resolved. And so we're really bugging over this corner, aren't we? Nah. Let's see if I can just get it right. I'm not talking because I'm thinking. This is what happens when I hit something that needs my attention. My brain slows down. What I need, all honesty, what I need is a square brush. And a hard push. There. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Meh. 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 Nope. This is when friend of the channel Ketup would say vector art would be really, like vector forming would be really good here to create a framework out of vector that's perfect curves. Not my style. Not my style. So we're going to take the middle of the circle at the top plus the middle of the circle at the bottom. Like that. Ooh, just a touch off. There we go. See? That's how you bevel a corner. Something like that. What's the world map look like? Yeah, pretty on point. Let's see. Yeah, we're doing terrain, so let's do more terrain. Grab our here. break up the dot a little bit here. Don't want it too dense. Thank you, Timely Timer. That's my 20-minute timer, making sure I don't dive into any detail too deeply. Give myself a chance to check where I'm at. Where I'm at, I'm looking pretty good. Hey, what's up? Hey, Fernando. It's good to see you, my guy. I'm doing good. I feel like I'm breaking out of my skin. Like I'm trying to. I feel like my body is a cocoon that I am trying to hatch from. You know. It's probably because I had some carrot cake. When I normally don't eat early in the morning, but for some reason I felt compelled to eat some carrot cake that I have around the house, and my body feels like it's made of pins and needles right now. That's a good indication that my body is less and less interested in refined sugar and is more and more interested in natural sugars like fruit and shit. So culture change is coming on for the Kearney, it seems. Probably perfect timing, I'm sure. Went and had blood work done yesterday. I'm on a, I have white toenails. It looks like it's like a fungus underneath the nail. It happens, but the topical stuff can't get underneath the nail. So went to the doctor to get a prescription. It's a 6-week antibiotic regimen that you eat 1 pill a day, and apparently it's rough on the liver. So they have to have blood work done to check your liver status. And I'm hoping that I don't feel like my liver is damaged, so I suspect it's going to come back okay, but you never can tell. We're just stippling in some texture here. We're using the actual Eberron map as inspiration. You can see that we're using a similar type of texturing. Not identical. We're not trying to duplicate the map. I just cut and paste if I was just trying to duplicate it. But I want to use the Eberron, the Eberron map that people already know and use regularly. I want to use the same landmarks so you can roughly overlap it. So let's see. Get down here into the mountains. Those mountains occupy this space here, so I can pretty much make any kind of mountains that I want. So let's see what kind of mountains I want to make. Well, good point. I used GIMP for a number of years before I decided to start investing in Photoshop. Its layers are good. I'm up to like 1,500 layers in one of my pictures. So, like, I mean, not active. I collapse them together. But GIMP, I think, has like a 100 layer limit. I wouldn't be able to do some of the pieces that I do if I was limited to 100 layers. I think it does. Maybe that's just the free version. There's probably an expanded, unlocked, paid version of GIMP. But I always use just the free one because it was free and I was a kid and I couldn't afford better. I'm sure it's a hell of a lot better now than it was in the early 2000s when I started using it and gave up on it. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's put down. Let's go with fields. 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 And then we're going to do mountains. So let's... yeah, let's just drop a brick in here. I do not need to emphasize these mountains at all, but they do exist, so I want to honor that. You're right, though. More water is good. For every sip of coffee, I have to have at least 2 sips of water to stay hydrated. But if I'm trying to recover liquid, I need to drink like at least 3 or maybe even 4 sips of water per coffee. That's a lot. So let's be here and let's take our smudge brush. Wrong brush. Smudge brush. Blending brush. Let's drop the opacity down to like 30 something. Let's see if I can just push this into the canvas a little bit. As Bob Ross would say, push the color into the canvas. Digital for just for fun, I'll say. Digital canvases are always wet on wet. Because you can slide and blend pixels digitally, you can set through your brush technique how resistant to blending the paint to the canvas is, as opposed to like actual Bob Ross painting. You have to prepare your canvas with basically a wettening, a wet. They call it liquid white or liquid black or liquid clear. It's like a varnish that won't dry, or is incredibly slow to dry. That when it hits oil painting, it like unbonds. Like it allows you to push the pixels around like I'm pushing here with my smudge tool. It allows the canvas to become a smudge environment for you to blend paint into, and you have to use specific chemical treatment on canvas in real space, and that's something you can just do for free on digital. I think that's interesting. Blend the whole mass in here real quick. Just set it as the footprint where the mountains lie. And then we'll see if we can be clever about adding topography into it. I don't necessarily like the way that Eberron did mountains. I understand them. They're very. This is a very. This has a very Corel Paint feeling to it. If you ever messed around with the Corel Paint program, it has real media, and you can use like clay. Like you can lump clay onto your canvas and then sculpt it, and then you can change the direction of lighting that's hitting your canvas. So if this were, if this was sculpting clay that was lumped on with Corel Paint, these ridges, like the light source, would be coming from this direction, from the K towards the ashen. And so that's why you would have these ridges here, because you'd use your brush tool here to smudge and push all this clay into a mound like this, and would actually have simulated like Unreal Game Engine sort of lighting conditions that you place onto your canvas. So when you use 3-dimensional materials, like you can have like you can use a setting of like oil paint versus watercolor paints versus acrylics, for example, and you can have the acrylic lump up and gain volume and height on the canvas. And again, when you set your lighting conditions, it has a subtle effect on the lighting of the piece overall, which is super intense and interesting, but I don't find that practical or even necessary for the type of digital painting that I do. I'm very much an illustrator. I'm not a fine arts painter. That's not that level of subtlety is. If I need that level of subtlety, I'm going to draft it in myself as an illustration effect. I don't want to automate that lighting process. That's not my jam. But I respect that we're capable of doing it, and I think it's cool. Just not my process. And yeah, an illustration program, an art program like this does allow amazing control over how your cartography looks, but your techniques have to be consistent for the cartography to be consistent. I find myself doing like when I'm doing structure maps, like dungeons and stuff, I do a lot of cutting and pasting. Like, I'll get a wall and a door to look the way that I want, and then I'll just keep referencing that same wall and door throughout the rest of the piece. And as just cut, paste, rotate sort of affair. But most cartography programs, quote unquote, are just doing that same. They're presetting what assets you're cutting and pasting, and they just provide the cut and paste for you. As just select this. It's now something you can paste, right? As opposed to creating them inside the piece and then self-referencing them. It's only one reference that they have. It's just this is your door token. Rotate it until it fits the wall. I'm trying to say. So let's be here like that. It feels pretty good. Yeah, feels pretty good. We can probably actually fade that a bit. That's probably the right way to do this. And now let's add in the overlayer since we don't have any grit here. How do I want to do this? Looks like we have like a it's kind of like here's one mass of mountains, and then it comes around here like this, and then we have another mass of mountains down here like that. You see that? Like, it has like this little pocket here, like a valley. I bet there's some really good farming going on down in that valley. And there's probably some crazy good mineral stuff going on. God, I could run an entire campaign just in this little corner here by Ader. Oh, and Ader's got a forest over here. That's cool. I did not catch that. We'll add that in. We'll get to it. Now I feel like I want to blend this in over over the dark that we did. So I'm going to raise the intensity a bit on this to strengthen the increase the strength of the smudge tool so it pushes a little easier, but still blends. That's really important that we have this blending going on. Certainly isn't the fastest technique to do this, but I generally like the results. Let's go to here. I'm dropping the strength of the smudge brush to try to work these edges in to the canvas and the color we've already placed, the shadow color we placed underneath it. I generally like to go with darks first and then highlights over it. I think that's more natural. Darker is like further away from the light, right? It gets concealed by other objects that are highlighted. So working dark to light seems like a really natural flow for me. Even though I always have my canvases, generally I have my canvases white on my display when I start a piece. So we're just gonna keep blending these edges in here like this. And I don't know if I'm gonna like these. The way that I paint mountains is different from the way that I map mountains. And I don't have a real professional set way to map mountains because I don't do a lot of professional maps. I've done some. Professional though? I don't think I've ever done a region map. No, I've done a couple commissions for region maps. One of them wanted the 3-dimensional topography. I think a couple of them wanted just icons, like mountain icons peppering the grid. I haven't really established like this is how Phil do mountains, which is why I believe I'm willing to spend the time to make sure that I do this right. I like this. This is feeling good. What's up? Gotta say, I love watching the process. Right on, man. Thanks, Turbo. Krita is a good free. Oh, right on. I'm a dedicated Photoshop guy because I don't see color, and the RGB. I just think the Photoshop tools are the best. It's the RGB slider. This is the best. I mean, I know that you can have this format in virtually any art program, but for some reason, the RGB slider tools, the adjustment tools. I can't do curve stuff. I can't work with hot and cold in different temperature stuff. Like Photoshop is super basic, It can be as complicated as I need it to be, but I use it incredibly simple, and it's served me well. So I'm one of those loyalist types that I don't monkey branch to other things. When it works for me, I want to stick with it, and I want to make it work. So I have that same married mentality to Photoshop. And so I'm kind of a lifer with it, even though there might be other programs that are out there. I've never seen any program do anything better than what Photoshop does for what I need. So it's like I could switch to this other thing, but I've got 20 years of experience of using Photoshop. I may as well, if it's 6 or a half dozen, I may as well just use what I already have. If money in my life ever becomes an issue, I know I can switch to Clip Art Studio or Krita, or GIMP. There's a number of free programs out there, but fortunately, the amount of money that I make off of book sales on DMsGuild nullifies the cost of my subscriptions to Photoshop and Epidemic Music and my website and Discord, all the things that I have subscriptions for. In my D&D hobby, my D&D book creation hobby pays for all of that. And then I have my day job, which is what I actually live off of. So I have a self-sustaining hobby is basically where it's at, and I'm pretty happy with it. But hey, look at that. You caught me monologuing about money again. I do that occasionally. Best software is the one that works the best for. Hell yeah, man. Well said, Turbo. Thanks for your kindness. So I stream 9 times per week, Monday through Friday in the morning. I'm here doing this type of stuff. Whatever my next book is generally what I focus artwork on in the morning. And this Eberron adventure is my next book. I'm shooting for September publishing. I originally wanted to have this published like in June, but I have too many illustrations left to go in the book to do that. I don't bemoan the time that it takes to make a book at all. It takes however long it takes, and I am very proud of the pieces that I won't publish it until I'm like, yeah, this feels really good. And then they're all living documents. I go in and update them every year or so, depending on the denseness, the information that's in them and how the game has changed. Like 2024 is a big shift in gears for 5e. So I'm going through and updating the books that I've published to reflect 2024 rules, because I really like 2024. I think it's a better game system than what 5e was. It still has its wonkiness. I still don't like how spells work. I still think they jumped out like conjure animals. I think they didn't need to push that type of a spell energy into the game. But they're very minor complaints. And a discretionary DM can sidestep problematic spells, for instance, by just not allowing that spell. That's a problematic spell. I'm not letting it in. I don't let Silvery Barbs into my game, because it's just, if Silvery Barbs is in your game, Silvery Barbs is like your default thing to do if you don't have anything better to do, especially if you're using a spell point mana system like I use, where a first level spell is only 1 mana, and I run campaigns from level 1 to 20. And I do it in about 270 hours. So I spend about a quarter of my... I spend as much time at high levels as I do at low levels. And the abuse that Silvery Barbs can receive around level 9 plus in a spell point system is excessive. And does not belong in a game that allows you to spam spell levels like that. A spell, I can see the benefit of a spell slot system in this instance. I don't like spell slots. I prefer spell points, but D&D is built around the Vancian spell slot model. So having 4 first level spells, and now you have to decide, do I want to pay a second level spell slot to cast that first level spell slot or not? And Silvery Barbs becomes more restricted. Like you're going to have like 3 castings of Silvery Barbs and 1 casting of Shield. and then you get the second level spell slots. You only have 3 of those, and then you're like, well, I really need to avoid being hit by this, so I'm going to use shield, or I really need to make sure that like if we've burned through those legendary actions, I need to make sure this next debuff spell sticks, because we've had to burn off a number of options just to get to the point where we can make effects stick. This has to stick, like hold monster or something like that, or polymorph, banish, and hold monster are probably the most likely contenders in this conversation of debuffs. Your team will absolutely need to make sure that they stick. And so I've seen Silvery Barbs burned as a 3rd level spell slot to stick like that. But if you have 80 mana and it only costs 3 mana, it always only costs 1 mana to do it, I can Silvery Barbs 80 times per day as a 20th level wizard. Hell, I can make Silvery Barbs my signature spell as a wizard and just spam it like a cantrip. And if that alone, spell points or spell slots, it doesn't matter. If you have a signature spell class feature that allows you to spam Silvery Barbs like a cantrip, that's too powerful. You don't want a wizard to be able to spam that spell as a cantrip, even at 20th level. It's just too disruptive. But hey, I'm sitting here bitching about Silvery Barbs, the worst designed spell in D&D. Big surprise, I nitpick and snipe on the game system I love the most. It's not hate, it's love that motivates the gripe. Might not be the platform to ask, but do you do art commissions? Rarely. I rarely do art commissions. I generally don't have the bandwidth to do so anymore. I used to do only commissions. I used to do character art and item design and monster creation as a freelance gig between jobs. That was a long time ago. I would say as recently as a year ago, I was taking on the occasional commission. Rarely do I do a commission. I will do Bob Ross style environment paintings. I'll do a 30 by 30 canvas of Bob Ross type painting for I think $200. And generally an 8.5 and 11 page at the 300 DPI full color, completely saturating the entire page. It's around $500. It's not crazy expensive. That's assuming I have any space open to do commissions, and currently I don't. $500 per page is the bare minimum I can really afford doing commission stuff. But I'm also incredibly picky about control. One of the reasons I got out of commissions is because the micromanagement. I enjoy creating art. I enjoy creating art that excites, inspires, and satisfies people. I do not like taking on commissions where the person that is paid for me treats me like a manufacturing machine. It doesn't bring me the same joy that it used to bring. Anyway, so yeah, generally the answer is maybe, but probably not. And thank you for asking. The question itself is a compliment. So bless you. I will announce on my Patreon if I ever open up any spots for new commissions. Yeah. Blend, 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 blend. We're going to be blending for a bit here. I think these mountains are going to be the most intense piece on here. Like the forest here, and obviously apparently we need to add a little bit of forest down here. It's going to be pretty easy in comparison. That's just mixing texture. I'll probably actually switch gears here in a second and do the forests just to do them. I've got the black lines here, but I'm going to replace all that with appropriate color, like a dark green for the forest line. We're gonna look at what colors are going to be used, and again, we're using the official Eberron map as our reference point for the colors that we're using and for placement for both accuracy of positions, but also familiarity with the piece in general. This is for I'm a huge Eberron enthusiast. And so this is a love letter to both the campaign setting as well as just game design in general. I'm a big fan of good game design and open adventure spaces. Like I don't like stories in my adventures. I like events, and this is similar advice that you'll hear from other, D&D tubers, that you want to create an environment where the character has multiple choices on what they want to do, who they want to side with, what they want their next action to be, where do they want to go. And so the way that I've structured this adventure is it has a natural flow from beginning to end, physically moving you from the edge of the forest further into the forest, where as the adventure progresses, it's further and further into the forest. You get to the next segments of the adventure path, but there's multiple paths you can follow through the adventure to arrive at the same endpoints, and inside of those different paths you can resolve problems as exploration, combat, or social interactions. And there's a decent mix of those options, like wandering encounters. I'll specifically call out, this is the DC to be able to influence them, and here's the information they can provide for you, leading you on to these different points. Or if you fight them, here's how they'll respond to that. And then in future scenarios, like if you got in a fight with these guys, then you're going to have like disadvantage on these influence checks if the people you're talking to are aware of your conflict. So it's layered, it's self-referential, and it's layered, but it doesn't make any assumptions about how you're attempting to resolve your problems. Like you run across guards at some point, and like if they're overpowering you, but they have a friendly disposition towards you, they'll kick you out and say, "Hey, if you come back here again, I'm going to have to take you down." So you get to like reset from outside the zone. And now when you come back in, you're like at disadvantage because they know that you might try to squirrel your way back in. So they're keeping an eye out for you. So you get a redo without getting killed, but it becomes more difficult, and you might have to approach your tactics differently. So like I really tried to take into account like different grace points, fallback, failing forward, or different types of fail state. When you get to the main villains that are in the encounter, of course you can fight and kill them if you want, but you can also bribe them, or like ally with them, make arrangements. They'll try to betray you, of course, if you do. But to get through the moment, you have different conditions like throughout the adventure. Like if you did this or this or this, it'll give you advantages and lower the DC to succeed in your negotiations with them. If you did this, this, and this, it'll give you disadvantage and also potentially ramp the DC to make it more difficult for you to have successful negotiations with you. And the fail state of negotiation is combat. So you can keep them talking until they're fed up with you, and at that point it's let's throw initiative. Or you can just distract them with negotiation to a point where you're comfortable to take them out, and then you attack. So it's fun like that. I'm really proud of the structure overall. It's very modular in design, so that you can peel off pieces of it and use it elsewhere if you wanted to. But it's It's thorough. It has a lot of additional content that you can dive into. It has recommendations on extending the adventure or using it as the landing, the welcome mat to an entire campaigns. It addresses the Bastion system, utilizing like a lot of the dungeons. The names of the dungeons are also facilities in the Bastion systems. Like if you wanted to take this place over, like here's the laboratory, here's the workshop, here's the armory, here's the barracks. It has all these things laid out. So it's like, well, if I take this place over and want to make a Bastion out of it, the barracks is already there. All I have to do is like improve the facilities so that the barrack is operating. We designed, we originally created this adventure obviously before 2024 books came out, but the 2024 books are so complementary to the way that I like to run games in the first place that it's very like now it can just be like if your team succeeds at hiding, you know that you have to roll at least a 15 on your hide check, and that whatever your result of 15 or above, that becomes the DC for enemies to find you with their passive perception or if they're actively looking for you. So you don't need to you don't need nomenclature about like the difficulty to hide. It's just the hide action. So if your characters are hidden, they can observe blah 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 or whatever. So like the language on it, like the way that you structure adventure, it's actually a lot friendlier to DMs in general. Like using call-out language, like you can like characters that take the search or investigate action. I know what skills and ability checks you can make in the search and investigation actions. Like if the characters make a search check, DC 15, they find X, Y, or Z, that sort of thing. It's a pretty good piece of like 5e24 is a pretty good piece of machinery for the DM for conveying to the DM exactly what's going on. There's a lot of talk about how 5e24 benefits and gives more crunch to the players. But at the same time, it kind of actually disintegrates some of the crunch that DMs need to worry about actually running the game. The monsters might be a little more mechanically complicated than they had been previously, but the overall structure of adventuring in 2.4 is generally simplified with less machinery needing notation inside the actual game process. And I think that's a big win. I don't hear a lot of conversation about it. Maybe I need to make a video about that specifically, about like why DMs are winning in 5e24. Maybe that'd be a good video. Or DMs win with 5e24. Who knows? Fuck off. Whatever. I don't do a lot of pre-planned videos. Like I do Monster of the Week every year, and I just put out Dragonflight as my contribution to Monster of the Week. Is that what it is? It's Monster Week. That's what it's called. Not Monster of the Week. Monster Week 2025. And this week, this year's Monster of the Week. This year's Monster Week was dragons. Last year it was krakens. So I did the Mega Kaiju mechanics for making, a 1,500-foot kraken attacking the Rock of Brawl in Spelljammer. I did all the mechanics of how to make that monster and how to design combat around it for both ship combat and individual character combat in a sort of kaiju-style combat scenario. And then this year, with Dragonflight, I detailed how you can use dragon lances and high-speed aerial flight as part of a combat scenario when you're a dragon hunter, or when you're running a Dragon Slayer campaign, or you're running Dragonlance with actual dragon lances. That's actually linked in the videos below. All that stuff is. And then I have like a slew of how does Spelljammer work in 5e videos. And so I plan on doing, like, when I publish a book, I did that with Spelljammer, and Spelljammer was the last significant book that I published, which was last year. My intention is when I publish a book that I'll do a series of videos about the book to basically like walk through some of the cool stuff that's in them. That's the idea anyway. How are we looking here? We're looking okay. We're looking okay. I know that if I organized my thoughts and shared these DM nuggets as standalone videos, I'd probably be able to gain momentum quicker as a channel. But I'm really interested in building slow and solid, so that if I increase, I guess it's not if, I guess it's a matter of how quickly, right? I mean, I am growing, so it's just very slow. I think I appeal to the study hall crowd, you know, people that like chillax channels and just like slice of life sort of stuff. I think that's kind of where this fits into. Plus, it's a crafting channel. I'm actually illustrating, so it's in a weird space that's not algorithmically popular right now. But I'm under the opinion that if you choose to do your channel a specific way, like you know how you want to do your channel, I think that eventually the algorithms serve you up as, hey, this guy does stuff, check it out. I think that's how the world works. So I'm confident with just doing what Phil does, and let the rest of the world catch up to me eventually. I'm rambling a lot, man. I am really rambling. What do you expect the next year's Monster Week? I think I agree with Landlocked Warlocks that it'll probably be Hag. I think Hag is a great one. My vote was Demons and Devils. There's a shitload of stuff you can do with that. It has to be universal enough that it doesn't rely on D&D as your game engine. Like Beholder is an iconic monster, but it's only iconic to D&D. Everyone else has to call it something wonky. So you can't really just like have a Beholder monster week. Kraken is like, if it comes to like Greek mythos, you're probably good to go, right? So Camaro would be good. I don't know if you can have 200 videos about Medusa. So it's really, I honestly don't know. I have a lot of faith in Pointy Hat and Jenny D to be able to discern what would make a lot of sense. And I'm going to grab my, this is my chisel brush. I use this to make mountains. Here, check this out. If I were, if I were to make a mountain, I would set its edges, say, like this, to make my mountain range. And then I blend it out. There, Bob Ross. Super fucking easy. Super fucking easy. Ridiculously easy to do Bob Ross in Photoshop. Most of the brushes that I use in Photoshop were developed as a result of like pausing and doing screenshot. Like when Bob would tap the brush to make a bush or trees, like his first tap and he lift away, I'd pause the camera there. I'd do a screenshot. I'd polarize it so it became black and white. And then I would extract the little black smudges to become a brush. This chisel brush that I have here is the result of looking at Bob. Look at this. Looking at Bob Ross Mountain, like that looks like the little breaks that you see in the mountainside of Bob. I specifically crafted this to look that way, so it was easier for me to layer these things together to be able to create that stuff. Anyway, tech, good tech, good tech. Let's make use of that a little bit here and maybe lay in some mountains like that. We'll put those over here like this. Then maybe we'll do another one over here. I'm going to cut this and paste that there. I'm going to start here. Let's start with this one. See if I chose the right way to express this. Let's bring that in here like that. And just like Bob, we're going to drag from the bottom. We're going to drag and pull down to be able to create the fade effect. And then we're going to lift up from the canvas into the art to have a reverse fade so it blends into the environment easier. So we bring down and then we pull up. And I want to blend out these edges here because we're going to have another mountain range come around the corner here. And then we have this one in the quote-unquote foreground. Thank you, Timely Timer. So I want to blend this stuff out and leave notation of it, like just like little wisps of information inside of here, these little lumps and curves. So I can blend this down here into the hills. Like that. And then I can push up from the canvas into the art. There we go. I can curve away, just wear down those rough edges. There. I want to grab that background there to make that little shadow effect to show depth. And again, lift up from the bottom. See how that little enclave there? That's not the right term. Cul-de-sac, indent. I'm not sure what the right word there is, but you can see like little valley stuff going on there. This should actually be up like that. It's here that I should have separation. There we go. So we're going to take the same brush here. We're going to make it an eraser. Like that. And I can blend all this in to be lighter or faded into the environment, because then we can do a more bold mountain ridge here to help shape that curve. So I actually want this to blend in and sort of disappear into the background. That. And again, I don't know if this is going to end up working or not. I like this particular this particular segment that we're working on here, this little lump here. This feels good, but when we're done and we pull back, it might end up not working at all, and we'll start over. But it never hurts just to practice mountain ranges. You know, you can always just let them come into existence and fade out again as needed. That's subtle. See, this isn't like dominating the page. I like how this is happening. All right, on Gabby. It's good to see you. No shit. Right on, man. Congratus. Blend, blend, blend. Blend, 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 blend. Oh, no kidding. Neat. Well, look for hidden reliquaries. They might be trying to bless you behind your back. I gotta say though, I like how these mountains are blending. I like this technique. This is fun. I haven't done this before for topography. I gotta say, I'm liking the results so far. I mean, this particular, these three mountains I think are coming along really nicely. We'll see. We'll see how the rest of it fits together. Okay, so to that point, let's we've got this down here. Let's start doing that. Mountains. There's that. Let's add this in here. It's a separate layer, so I don't have to worry about fucking up the other mountains, and I specifically didn't want to, so I could have this fade effect working for us. We're going to do a big peak there. I'm going to bring this in here like that. And we're going to cascade this down here and do another piece like that. Let's see if that ends up doing what I want it to do. Now I'll just blend, 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 blend as we do. Oh, you know what? Honestly, I think I'm going to cut this free here. I like this shape. So I want to cut that out, drop that down there, and just leave this here as a solo piece and have this blend in here. Yeah, that's how I want to do this. And break this up here like that. That's generally how we do it. I just tap in some mountain stuff like that and just blend it in, and it just ends up looking good because it's basically it fucking paints itself. Super good. We can do this. We can pull this again. We're pulling from the canvas up into the peak so that it blends more atmospherically. Atmospherically, is that a word? Come on, Kearney. Fix your vocabulary, dude. I swear to God, I don't read so good anymore. My vision has declined some over the years, and I used to be a voracious book reader. And it's almost like my intuition knew that this was a limited option. So soak up as much text while your eyes are still good, Kearney. I'd read 2 novels, like 350, 375 page novels. I'd read 2 of those a day in the summertime when I was in high school. Just blasting through like the Dragonlance novels, or I was a big Jack L. Chalker fan. He's a 1970s, and I think he died in 2003, something like that. But he did a lot of sci-fi fantasy book series about transformation and the ramifications of like high tech or high magic societies, like how it would impact them. His approach to the world building was really cool. Big fan of his. Sculpted a lot of my mentality around like structuring campaigns and villains. Definitely worth your time. River of the Dancing God. He has 3 books. He has 3 series of books in particular that I loved. There is the Well of Worlds, which was a sci-fi setting. There was an ancient over species, like an alien overlord species that created genetic diversity in different type of creatures to live in different type of planet biomes, and the world where they experimented all of this was broken up into these hexagons. So it's an entire planet broken into literal hexagons, and each hexagon would be a different world biome that a type of creature would live in, and they arranged it so that like neighboring hexes didn't mesh well with each other, so that they would just naturally not interact with each other. But there was, for the most part, open borders between these hexes, and this was hundreds of thousands of years ago, and that species disappeared, but this well world remained. And so the well world eventually started figuring out how to interact with each other. So like for example, there was a species of badger type creatures, like badger furries that was in like a river system sort of place, that was adjacent to a biome of plains and forest that was owned by what we know as humans as. And at some point during the course of the world, the badger people found in a distant hex, they found a nerve toxin that reduced the intelligence of humans only. So they drove humans down into like a Neanderthal sort of state, and then stole their hex and basically enslaved the human population. So these badger people took over 2 hexes, and they enslaved the humans that were native to the 1 hex that they took over. There's another example of like these basically like dragonkin that lived in an arid like steppes, plains, plateaus, sort of like arid environment. And their major problem was that there was like a nearly indestructible Tyrannosaurus Rex apex predator. So these dragonborn type people that lived in this hex, their whole struggle was surviving being hunted by T-Rexes. And at some point in the evolution of the hex, they figured it out and drove them all into extinction. But they were built to be these massively powerful, just physically indestructible creatures that would be able to fight Tyrannosaurus Rexes and have a chance of surviving. So once all the Rexes were dead, they're like, we are a war culture that's based on physical might, and we have nothing to fight. So they all became mercenaries, and in a totalitarian state that if they weren't renting out themselves as soldiers, they were running a military police state, preventing anyone from having any aggression inside their own society, because the whole thing would, like, if once fighting started, the whole thing would just erupt into just mass chaos, because there was so much pent up rage and combat inside these creatures. That was an interesting exploration. That was one book series. Like, there was like 1,000 different species, and there's like 7 books, and you interact with all these different, like, you would come into this world and then you'd be assigned a species. When you got like gated into this world, you basically became a prisoner of it. And the main characters ended up there on accident, and they had to try to find their way off the planet to go back home. And so they ended up interacting, like, they all became these different races, and they had to figure out how their culture worked and how their bodies worked and how they could stay in communication with each other, and then starting to exploit the weaknesses and advantages of the hexes that they were born into. It was a really cool exploration. Another one was a Soul Rider series. The Soul Rider series was about a world where sorcerers, magic was real, and sorcerers could fabricate their own reality. They could, like, literally carve out kingdoms from nothing, and through concentration and focus, they could craft buildings and just fabricate things out of magic. And they would become megalomaniacs, and they would think that they were gods because they were constantly resculpting the reality, so they'd go rogue. And there was these task forces that were designed to bring down these rogue gods. And so that adventure was about somebody who didn't know anything about how any of this stuff works, and got involved in these mercenary type operations, and ended up discovering latent magic powers themselves, and how to wield them, and how the madness would overtake them, and what did they need to do to retain their humanity while they became gods. And that was also a very cool exploration of psychic trauma. And then the last book series I'll talk about, and then I'll move on, was River of the Dancing Gods. And this was a fantasy setting, like a generic Middle Earth, Forgotten Realms, Greyhawk type world that was self-aware, that it had these D&D like rules. It had these codexes that were designed by arch wizards that set a societal caste based around adventuring. And there was all these rules about, like, how you could evolve into different type of, like barbarians could only be these certain type of people from this type of culture, and like the chances of you being able to, like, naturally evolve into a type of adventuring character that would be able to challenge the current magocracy that ruled their world. They codified the physics of the magic, so that it was highly unlikely that anyone would ever come into being that could accumulate enough power to challenge their current position. So somebody that, so an archwizard that recognized the problem, that needed to find a way to solve it, realized that the only way to solve this was to recruit people that weren't bound by the rules of birth in this world. So he opened up a gate to United States, Utah, and kidnapped a hooker and a truck driver off the highway because they didn't have any templates. So when he brought them into this fantasy world, he could assign them a class with feats, and like he could build player characters out of them, and then gave them missions to accumulate skills so that they could become effective mage killers to go hunt these rogue bureaucratic mageocracy people that were exploiting the world to their own benefit. And so they accumulated a crew, and at some point during there's like a 5-novel series, and at some point they started to bleed, but like they had to go back to like the normal Earth. And they had picked up like this master rogue who was like the best lock pick in the world, and he got addicted to television, and so he brought a TV back with him with a VCR. His favorite TV show was Gilligan's Island, so he got the entire series and he brought it back, and he got their patron wizard to build a battery so that he can keep the TV on. And later they got attacked by a zombie apocalypse, and it just happened that they attacked this rogue's home, and he was watching Gilligan's Island, and the zombies broke in, and they all just stopped and started watching TV, and they just wouldn't stop watching TV. So they realized zombies are addicted to TV even more than Rogue was, so they started using TVs to shut down hordes of monsters. It was fucking great. Anyway, hey Steve, it's good to see you. Anyway, I'm like way off the deep end. I'll go ahead and disengage from that. Anyway, Jack L. Chalker, very, very interesting books. It really helped format my sense of adventuring and like villain design and world design. I've been reading those books since the like 80s and 90s is when most of those books came out, and I started running D&D like in 87. So those books lined up really well with the time, like my learning curve of becoming a DM and playing D&D in general. So it affected me. Let's take this and bring it down here. I think I need to fade this a little bit. Yeah, that feels, I think, pretty good. We can take this and erase that. Pepper in some erase marks here to get the texture, and then we'll blend this out. Yeah, it's okay. Maybe what I want to do is actually, oh yeah, that made all that shit just pop. I could get rid of this layer altogether and just really make that stuff pop. Maybe something like that feels good. I think that feels good. Let's go with that. Again, we'll blend this out, and then we'll layer in another. We'll just keep layering peaks in. And in this blended space here, we can do like smaller little foothills to kind of even these out. And I think this is looking pretty good. Feels pretty good. What's up? Oh, hey, thanks, Steve. Darlene. That's a random statement. Yeah, Descendant into Avernus, man. I mean, that could have been a bit. I could have done a better job with that, but I really enjoyed Descendant into Avernus. That was a fun piece. Shit, where are we at on time? It's 7:40. Okay, I've got 15 minutes left, and I got to kick out of here. So we'll get close on the mountain range today. And then, I mean, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll finish this up. We'll finish up this little segment here, and then we'll start on the forests tomorrow. But, yeah, no regrets, man. This is a good little piece here. I'm really happy with how this is shaping up. Yeah, DIA was fun. We used Descent into Avernus to playtest the vehicle mechanics that appeared in the Spelljammer book. And also a little bit of the what is now the bashing campaign system. That was fun to build, to run the mass combat for the Blood War, defending Elturel. Yeah, a lot of really fun stuff in that. A lot of fun stuff. Yeah, man, if you're out of here, cool. Thanks for your time. Really, really appreciate you guys being around. Makes my life better. Just going to blend that out, and then we'll end up putting hills over it. God, that feels good. Just blend that in. Yeah, I'm really happy with this. I'm really, really happy with this. Let's do here. Gotta be careful about tangents. Tangents are like, if I were to what's a tangent? Like if I had a drawing of a box, and then I had a drawing of like a car in the background, and the car was like this, but it aligned perfectly here with the foreground box, so it makes this one smooth line. It causes, from a two-dimensional perspective, these two shapes to merge together, when in reality they're separate shapes and they shouldn't be. But because they're positioned adjacent to each other with edges that lined up, that's called a tangent. This alignment of different shapes or objects aligning with the line of the edge, blah. I want to avoid that. And so like here, this peak here was aligned with this edge here, so it just sloped as a single line downward, even though it was two separate objects. So I had to break the frame of the foreground object, push it offline so it didn't line up so evenly. Got to keep an eye out for tangents. They'll fuck up your piece. They'll make things read they'll make things read in ways that you did not intend, and it's just a thing you got to keep an eye out for. You know, for any aspiring artists out there that are concerned about controlling the different elements in their pieces. There. And there's that. There's that. There's that. We can do more here. Let's do not so sharp, Kearney. Let's do something a little more subtle, like that. Hard edge at top, faded edges at the bottom, just like Bob taught us. It's the exact same techniques that I would use for a mountain, just very fast and simplified. But it's the same techniques. You drag the edge. So you've got this angle here along the left slope, and then you have this angle here along the right slope. So when I'm doing interior stuff, I want to use those edges. And this tip here is like the radial point. So like I can come across like this in an array like that. And then along this interior edge, I can also pull along the same line as the other edge of the mountain, so that it's consistent with its own like physics. There, we'll do that. Here like that. Just blend, blend, blend. Blend it in. There, that feels pretty good. Have that spill out from there, and we can put in more little pieces in throughout here. This is actually threatening to become foreground, so let's just let it do that. Since this seems to be what it wants to do, let's give it a little rope to see what it can do. Drop this in here like that. I want to be careful about not lining up edges, so I'm going to erode this one down at a different edge and push this one out here. Yeah, that should be fine. Actually, I'm going to trim this a little bit. That'll do. Blend, blend, blend. Blend it in. Blend, blend, blend. Feels good. I think I want to have a couple little ridges down there. Let's figure out where our structure is at here and here. This feels like it should be here. So I'll do this. push up the strength of that smudge brush to be able to push these in a little bit easier. There we go. Am I caught up? Am I missing anything? Oh, Darlene made the original Greyhawk map. Oh, right on. Thank you. Did not know. I am damn near out of time. I got like 5 minutes left. Feels like a pretty good spot. Let's break that hill up. Blend that in. Let's see. Let's do like that. Little hilly bit. Blend, blend, blend. Okay, that looks pretty good. And we want to have some more stuff pushing out there. This is the furthest back in the sequence. So I want to blurp, blurp, blurp here. There and there. This is coming along pretty nicely. My chair's creaking. I can't find the damn Allen wrenches that were used to made the chair in the first place, but I think I'm working the bolts loose. Jumping around on my chair so much, so it's being noisy. I don't know how to rectify that yet. It's on my radar of things that need tending to. Just about where I'm supposed to be. Wait. Yeah, let's take those and push those up there. This should work. All right. That's it. I gotta go. I will be back later on today, though. I think 2 o'clock Seattle time, which will be in about 6 hours. We'll be back on for for a lunch shift. We'll continue working on cleric subclasses. There's 14 cleric subclasses in 2014. 4 of them were updated in 2024, and the other 10 weren't. So we're prioritizing the 4 subclasses from 2024 right now. And then when we finish those, we'll do all the other 10. I expect that to take today, Thursday, and Friday, which means we'll begin on the Bard Monday next week, and Tuesday, hopefully finish that up, and then be able to cap off the Warlock by Friday next week. And then we can get into Strixhaven stuff. So, but yeah, I like this. This is I think, coming along really nicely. It's going to take a little bit more work. I need to sculpt this around a little bit more. But for the most part, this is going to end up being a really nice piece. I think it's going to do the community good. Hold on. I'm looking at this here. I'm looking at that. I want to bring that down. I'm going to merge those together. Bring this over here. Take this and... Yeah, I know I'm still here. Muse won't let me go yet. There. That's starting to look like a more natural border point. So we'll extend these peaks down a little bit, blend that in. We're just using the footprint of the mountains that are here already to help define how we're sculpting these, and we're pretty close to, like, we want to bring this in here. This might be overextending a little bit. For the most part, this is looking pretty nice. So, I mean, since we're here, let's bring that in a touch. Yeah, we're gonna do a little foothill work over here and have that drop off the page, and do a little foothill stuff here and have that drop off the page, and sculpt out these mountains a little bit. Like this is the general shape that we want to be, like this. That's generally the shape of the mountain range. So there you go. We'll suss that out. We'll finish this tomorrow, and then we'll definitely get into the forest here, and we have another forest down here that we need to draw in, and then we'll adjust colors for the road, the rivers, the tree line, the dotted line, and the road will probably remain black like this to stand out from the rest of the environment. But yeah, I'm really happy with where this is at already. So we're doing good. We're doing really, really good. I'm going to actually drop the opacity on that field texture a little bit. All right, that's it, guys. I got to bounce out of here. Thanks a lot for being around. I'll catch maybe some of you guys at 2 o'clock, 6 hours from now. And otherwise, I hope to catch up with you guys tomorrow. Like, subscribe, bell icon, notifications. Check out my books down below. They all have free previews. If they add value, consider buying them to encourage similar behavior in the future. I will see you guys later. Cheers.